ثُمَّ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا وَلَا يَحْيَا. Then therein he will never die or live. And that's just a literal translation. We don't translate the Qur'an literally. The only reason why we translated it literally here is because we have an explanation right after it. There's an explanation that follows right afterwards. But if we didn't have the explanation to follow, then we wouldn't resort to just translating it literally. Because the true meanings of the Qur'an, the proper meanings of the Qur'an, are not reached by just translating the words word for word. The best way to learn the Qur'an is by taking it from a teacher like you are now, even without knowing Arabic. What you're learning right now without you knowing Arabic would make you understand these verses more than a person who knows Arabic but he didn't learn it. Some people are under the impression that they have to learn Arabic to learn the Qur'an, and that's not true. You have to learn from a teacher to learn the meanings of the Qur'an because they need to be explained. But if you learn Arabic language, that would be a great help for you. Learning the Arabic language will open many doors for you, and it will make you able to learn faster. You can learn the religion faster. You'll have more resources and more exposure. So the 13th ayah says, ثُمَّ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا وَلَا يَحْيَا. Then therein he, that blasphemer, will never die or live. Or he will never die nor live. In this fire the blasphemer shall not die, and thus be relieved of the torture. He will stay alive in that fire. Nor shall he live a good and comfortable life. He won't die, and he also won't have any comfort. He won't experience any ease or relief or peace. That's the meaning of saying wala. That's the meaning of saying la yamut. That's the meaning of saying wala yahya, and he will not live. It means he will not live a life of pleasure. He will not have any relief. In this verse is an example of the beautiful expressions of the Qur'an. What literally says that he will not live means that he will not live a life of comfort. So it means the blasphemer, he will enter hell. And in hell, he will never die. ثُمَّ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا. He will never die while he's there. So he lives forever. He lives forever. But the next part says, وَلَا يَحْيَا. If you translate it literally, it would say, and he won't live. But we already know that he won't die. So what does it mean to say he won't live? It means he won't experience any pleasure. He will be in hell forever and he will not experience any pleasure. It's clear? قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Triumphant is he who purifies himself. Ibn Abbas said that the one who purifies himself from blasphemy by adhering to the belief shall be triumphant. The one who purifies himself from kufr by adhering to the belief shall be triumphant, shall be a winner. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ. He will be a winner, he will be triumphant. Abdul Razzaq narrated from the route of Sa'id ibn al-Musayyab that he said that the one who pays zakatul fitr shall be triumphant. So those are two explanations for this ayah. Who's Abdul Razzaq? As-Sun'ani. As-Sun'ani. Abdul Razzaq As-Sun'ani, who was a hafiz of hadith. He was a hadith master like Bukhari and Muslim and Abu Dawood and An-Nasa'i. He was a big scholar of hadith, and he was mufassir. He also has explanation of Qur'an. Mufassir. Mufassir. The explainer of the Qur'an is called Mufassir. M-U-F-A-S-S-I-R. Mufassir. Abdul Razzaq, yes, that's inverted V, caret sign. A-B-D-U-R dash R-A-Z-Z-A-Q. You can underline the A before the Q. Abdul Razzaq. وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. And he remembered his Lord and prayed. Or he mentioned his Lord. ذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ. He mentioned the name of his Lord. That is, he remembered the oneness of Allah and prayed the 5 prayers. And it was said that this verse means, and he prayed the 2 Eid prayers. And it was said that this verse means, and he prayed the optional prayers. And the first saying is the strongest one. فَصَلَّى, and he prayed. So, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Triumphant is the one who purifies himself. The one who clears himself from kufr will be a winner if he dies as a believer. وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. And he mentions the name of his Lord and he prays. Or he remembers his Lord and he prays. What does it mean? فَصَلَّى, and he prays. They explained it with different explanations. Some of them said it means the obligatory prayers, the 5 obligatory prayers. Some of them said it means the Eid prayers. Some of them said it means the Sunnah prayers, the optional prayers. And the first saying, which is that it refers to the obligatory prayers, is the stronger saying. Some said it means, he said Allahu Akbar and he started his prayer. فَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. Allahu Akbar, and then he prays. Don't you mention your Lord when you say the takbir and then you pray? وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. But instead, you, blasphemers, prefer the life of this world. Abu Amr and Zayd and Ya'qub recited بَلْ يُؤْثِرُونَ with a ya, which would mean they prefer. The way we just recited it, بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ with a ta, you prefer. The surah, the ayah was also recited with a ya, بَلْ يُؤْثِرُونَ, they prefer. And don't forget that originally the Arabic didn't have any dots. You know the Arabic letters? Yes? So you know how the ya has 2 dots, right? And the ta has 2 dots also from the top. And originally the Arabic didn't have any dots, so both of those recitations could be written at once. So you just write the same shape with no dots, and you can recite that in 2 ways. بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ or بَلْ يُؤْثِرُونَ. And that explains the intended meaning of the recitation with a ta. Meaning, the recitation of the ta, which is what we recited, بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. You prefer the life of the dunya. Who is you? The believers or the blasphemers? The other recitation clarifies, بَلْ يُؤْثِرُونَ. They prefer the life of the dunya. So then we know that it refers to the blasphemers, not to the believers. Thus, the intended meaning is that the blasphemers prefer this life over the hereafter because they disbelieve in Allah. And this is the case with these people out here. They're not concerned with the afterlife. They're not worried about being judged on Judgment Day. They're not worried about getting the pleasures of paradise. They're worried about just enjoying themselves now in the dunya, making money so that they can get whatever pleasures they can get in this lifetime until they die. And then they don't care about what happens after they die. They ignore that part. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. While the hereafter, the afterlife, is better and longer lasting. Paradise for the believers is better and more enduring. That means it lasts than this life is for its seekers. This life, for those who seek it, it goes away fast. Like, for example, take your meal. Oh, that meal will be over before you know it. As delicious as it was, it'll be over before you know it. Or your clothing. Before you know it, you grew out of them, they're torn, they're faded, etc. It doesn't last. This dunya doesn't last. Paradise is better and longer lasting. So, بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. You prefer the life of the dunya while the afterlife is better and longer lasting. We, as our sheikhs advised us, inshallah, we put the hereafter in front of our eyes. We make the hereafter our goal. This should be our goal. The hereafter should be our goal. Not the next hamburger, the next pair of sneakers, the next party, etc. إِنَّ هَذَا لَفِي الصُّحُفِ الْأُولَى. Certainly, this is in the first books of Revelations. This triumph of the one who pays the zakah and remembers the oneness of Allah and prays the 5 prayers was mentioned in the earlier revelations as well as the Qur'an. Al-Qushayri said that this admonition, this reminder, is also mentioned in the earlier revelations because Tawheed, clearing Allah from resembling the creation, and the promise of reward and the threat of punishment by Allah, that threat from Allah, those matters do not differ with the different rules revealed to the prophets. All of the prophets came with that message. What books of Revelation? Suhufi Ibrahim wa Musa. The books of Ibrahim and Musa. The books of Abraham and Moses. The books or the journals revealed to Ibrahim were 10, as narrated by Ibn Hibban. However, the chain of narration is subject to debate. That's disputable. In this narration, the journals contain the following, yani among what was reported to have been revealed to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam is: the mindful seeks to use his time wisely, look after his personal well-being, protect his tongue, And the one who considers his speech part of his actions will speak less, except when he is involved and needs to speak. The mindful needs to use his time wisely. That's really a big issue. Using your time wisely. If we use our time wisely, then we can get a lot of things done. We can have a lot of benefit. Like, imagine a person who, let's say he wakes up at Fajr and he prays Fajr. He prays Sunnatul Fajr and he prays obligatory Fajr. And then he says dhikr. And then maybe he does something after that beneficial. Or maybe he rests a little bit more so that he can have more energy for the day. And he corrects his intention when he rests. And he's busying himself with dhikr all the time. When he's not talking to someone, he's saying dhikr. They said that about our Shaykh, rahimahullah, Shaykh Abdullah. If he wasn't talking, his tongue was moving with dhikr. Between his words, his tongue was moving with dhikr. Taking advantage of every single moment to get reward. And imagine that this person who wants to use his time wisely, that he doesn't, for example, spend his time watching TV, spend his time playing video games. How much time is wasted watching TV, watching video games? Lots of time. How much benefit a person could have achieved in that time? A person could have memorized something. A person could have prayed. A person could have just reviewed something even if he didn't memorize it. And by reviewing it, it would make him understand a case better. A person could have exercised for the sake of Allah, for example. All kinds of things that are beneficial. The mindful needs to use his time wisely. Look after his personal well-being. Protect his tongue. And looking after your personal well-being doesn't mean that you leave others to fall into destruction. Looking after your personal well-being does not mean you leave others to fall into destruction. Not like some arrogant people say, just worry about yourself. They mean, don't tell me anything. Don't advise me. Don't correct me. Worry about yourself. That's what they mean. Wal-'iyadhu billah. Those people are repulsive. He looks after his personal well-being. And among looking after your personal well-being is avoiding the sin no matter what. Meaning, when it comes to avoiding the sin and avoiding blasphemy, you give yourself priority. When it comes to avoiding a haram and avoiding kufr, you give yourself priority. You don't commit a sin for anyone. You don't commit blasphemy for anyone. Save yourself from the torture of the grave and from hellfire. And he protects his tongue. And the one who considers his speech part of his actions will speak less. As it is said that silence is an indication of the person's cleverness. He only speaks when he needs to. There's a saying, I learned it when I was a little kid. They say, it is said, empty cans make the most noise. Do you understand that statement? Empty cans make the most noise. If the can is full and you drop it, it won't make so much noise. But if it's empty and you drop it, it will make a loud clatter. That's to say that the one who's empty, like he's a fool, and he has nothing in his head, he makes the most noise. He talks and talks and talks. And the one who's smart doesn't talk as much. And Allah knows best. That's the end of the surah. Then the next surah is Al-Ghashiyah. Let's look at the brief meanings first, and then we'll go to the detailed meanings, inshaAllah. Surah Al-Ghashiyah is a Meccan surah revealed in Mecca by consensus, and it is composed of 26 verses.